Welcome, I'm Coach Mike. I'm a mental performance coach here at Tree Street, Sierra Nevada. In this first section, we're going to cover why is it when we are critiquing our performance that we tend to look for our errors and forget all about the good stuff. Here we go. Recently, one of our U14s, which is a middle school team, played in a tournament in the high school division, winning the silver bracket. Coaches were very pleased with their teamwork, their communication, but the girls seemed to be more interested in their errors. When asked why, they said, well, so we can fix them. That makes sense, but then they were asked, do you ever really enjoy or celebrate your good things? Not so much. Well, why not? Well, because that's what's expected of me. Do they really believe that perfection is what their coaches expect? I had to ask, okay, wait a minute. So how many of you felt like you sucked all weekend? All 11 girls shot their hands straight up in the air, just like I'd ask them who wants ice cream. I was shocked. Do they really believe that we expect perfection? And that if that's so, what can we do about it? So the first thing I came across was the gap in the game. Authors Dan Sullivan and Dr. Ben Hardy say that there are two different ways of measuring our progress. In the gap, we measure how far we are from our goal. In the gain, we measure how far we have progressed toward our goal. And each has its own emotional response. In the gap, because we're continually failing to reach our goal, we experience frustration. In the gain, because we're constantly moving towards our goal, we experience joy. Here's the rub. Society encourages us to pursue ideals, which are motivating, but by definition, not achievable. And when we continue to fail reaching our ideals, looking for our errors becomes a habit. Here's what Gino Auriemma, the head coach of the UConn women's basketball team, says about pursuing ideals. We pursue perfection, and here's the operative term, knowing that we will never achieve it, but that along the way we may achieve excellence. And that they did. They won 110 consecutive basketball games along with 3 national titles. And there's more. Whenever we are uncertain, struggling, the center of attention, dealing with change, we will experience feelings of self-doubt and fear. Trevor Reagan, founder of the Learner Lab, says that these feelings are normal and we'll always experience them whenever we're out of our comfort zone and trying to learn something new. The bad news is that we cannot prevent these feelings from happening. The good news is we can learn to manage them and still perform athletically. Here's Trevor.
First, we need to understand where fear comes from. It's actually wired in and comes from a region of our brain called the amygdala. Some people call this your lizard brain. If a snake all of a sudden crawled in this room, I would be gone because my lizard brain goes, danger, run. Big picture is it uses fear to keep us out of trouble. And it does a great job of this. But, and it's a big but, there's a glitch to the system. Our amygdala doesn't have the capacity to determine if something's good for us or dangerous. So it doesn't know if the challenge is a good one or a dangerous one, or this is a good risk or a dangerous risk, or this is a good I'm out of my comfort zone moment, or a threatening I'm out of my comfort zone moment. So it avoids them altogether. There are 4 things our lizard brain hates the most: uncertainty, attention, struggle, and change. Now those could certainly be 4 elements of a dangerous situation, but they could also be used to describe great learning opportunities. Most of the good stuff involves lots of uncertainty, attention, struggle, and change. I'm talking about art, creativity, innovation, sports in general. Learning in general involves lots of that. And when we're operating in those learning and development arenas, the lizard is at play. We're going to feel some tension and fear. Our lizard is always going to choose easy over hard, to play it safe rather than take a risk, to do what we're good at rather than try something new. It wants comfort, not struggle. It wants to stay in the zoo, not jungle tiger. So yeah, that approach can keep us safe if our life is in danger, but when it comes to learning and development, it's not that effective.
I play baseball, and in every game, I always tell my coach I want to play in right field because nobody hits the ball there. I want to play in the infield, but if someone hits the ball at me, I might mess up. So my lizard tells me to play in right field.
Whether we played baseball or not, everybody can relate to that story, where there was something that we wanted to do, that we could do, that we should do. But when the time comes to do it, we end up hiding in right field, which is our comfort zone, which is the zoo. How do you conquer this fear? How do you conquer the lizard brain? My thinking was, fear made me bad at learning. If I get rid of the fear, I can be good at learning. So I asked him, how do you conquer the fear? And this is his actual response.
So I'm thrilled you asked the question that way, because that is exactly the wrong question. If you are seeking to destroy, defeat, conquer the lizard brain, you will fail. It cannot be done. Because when you try to fight the lizard brain, you are giving it more power. Your brain is nothing but a chemistry experiment. It's electricity and chemicals. And when you push back on the lizard brain, when you try to reason with the lizard brain, when you just say one more this or one more that or don't worry, it inflames and releases more chemicals. You cannot win. What you can do is dance with the lizard brain. What you can do is realize that the lizard brain is a compass. And then when it freaks out, it is telling you you are on to something. When it freaks out, it's telling you you're about to do something that's brave and bold and powerful. And you should listen to it by doing the opposite of what it wants you to do. That when we listen for the lizard brain and welcome it and thank it for giving us a clue, then we can use it to our own ends. So if you talk to the great artists, what you see is they do their best work in the moments when part of their brain is telling them it will never work, they'll never amount to anything, they're a fraud, they're going to get caught, they're afraid. Those are the moments you say, yes, thank you, and do it anyway.
So the goal isn't to get rid of fear. The goal is to put it in its place, to understand how to use it rather than letting it use us. This concept of dancing with fear, using it as a compass, I think is brilliant. Now, this is when it comes to learning. Of course, if our life is in danger, we should listen to fear, if the bat's flying at our head. But we know when we're in a learning arena and when we're not. When it comes to learning and development, it's best to do the opposite of what fear says. And if we zoom way out, it sort of makes sense. If we know that our lizard is wired to keep us in our comfort zone or in the zoo, well, if we ever do escape our comfort zone and get out into the jungle, of course it's going to freak out. The freak out is a sign that we are out of our comfort zone, that we are right where we need to be. Research out of Harvard Business School actually shows a similar effect. In this study, they looked at singing, public speaking, and math. And in each one of those topics, they found if we're able to reframe fear and anxiety as more of a positive thing, we actually perform better. Students who frame the anxiety as a positive actually perform 17% better on the speaking test. They perform 22% higher on the math test. And in the singing test, this one was interesting. They actually hooked the students up to a Nintendo Wii. The first group framed the anxiety as a negative. They scored a 53%. The group that was taught to reframe the fear and anxiety as a positive scored an 81%. Again, a huge boost in performance by reframing the conversation and the way that we look at fear. The research clearly shows that the best way to deal with fear is not to suppress it or get rid of it. It's to accept it and to own it and to reframe it. A big principle that we're trying to hammer home is the idea isn't to remove fear or get rid of fear. It's just to develop the skill of dancing with it, to get better at dancing with fear. And just like anything we talk about, that is a skill. So the more that we do it, the better we get. But just because we dance with fear a lot doesn't mean the fear goes away. Liz Gilbert is a powerful force in the world of creativity and art. And the way she talks about fear, I think, is brilliant.
I even have a welcoming speech prepared for fear, which I deliver right before embarking on any new project or big adventure. And it goes like this. Dearest fear, creativity and I are about to go on a road trip. I understand you'll be joining us. Because you always do. I acknowledge that you believe you have an important job to do in my life and you take your job seriously. Apparently your job is to induce complete panic in me whenever I'm about to do anything interesting. And may I say, you are superb at your job. So by all means, keep doing your job if you feel you must, but I will also be doing my job on this road trip, which is to work hard and stay focused. There's plenty of room in the minivan for all of us, so make yourself at home, but understand this. Creativity and I are the only ones who will be making any decisions along the way. I recognize and I respect that you're part of this family. I will never exclude you from our activities, but still, your suggestions will not be followed. You are allowed to have a seat, you're allowed to have a voice, but you are not allowed to have a vote. You don't get to touch the roadmaps, you're not allowed to suggest detours, you're not allowed to fiddle with the temperature. Dude, you're not even allowed to choose the freaking snacks. But above all else, my dear old familiar friend, you are absolutely forbidden to drive. And then we head off together, me and creativity and fear, side by side, forever, marching once more into the terrifying but marvelous terrain of unknown outcome.
When the lizard is at the wheel, it sees all these jungle tiger moments as threats. That problem, that challenge, that obstacle, that change, that's a threat. And when it detects threats, it finds a way around them. If we can put the lizard in the back seat and we're at the wheel, we realize most of those situations are actually opportunities. Dancing with fear is a skill, arguably the most important skill in this pursuit to become a great learner, which means the more that we do it, the better we get. Rather than wasting time trying to suppress fear or flee from fear, let's own it, accept it, reframe it, and start to get more reps and at-bats at dancing with it.
Well, is everybody awake now? We put that goat in there so you could actually experience how your lizard brain acts. All right, or wake you up if you need it from a nap. We'll get into some of Trevor's takeaways now. Your lizard brain automatically reacts to stress as danger and triggers your fight or flight survival instinct. You can't control your lizard brain, but you can learn to dance with it. Being aware of the difference between ideals and goals and how your lizard brain works is beneficial, but it's not enough. We need tools, mental tools that we can use to help improve our performance. Breathing. Breathing is one of the best things you can do to calm your mind and your body. A what I can and cannot control assessment. You need to know the difference between the things that you can and can't control so that you can simply focus on that which you can control. We need to create SMART goals. SMART goals are specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. A vision board. Put pictures up on a board of how you want to see your life, how you want to see your success in volleyball, and look at that every day. Visualization is a really important tool. 80% of the time when you visualize, you want to see yourself doing positive things, see yourself being successful. The other 20% of the time, you want to see yourself make an error, and then most importantly, how you respond to that error. You can actually program your response so that when it happens, you'll move right on. And then lastly, reframing things. You may feel anxious, you may feel nervous. If you reframe that and say, hey, I'm excited, it will completely change how you and your body react to that sensation. All right, section 2 is coming up. Thanks for listening.